Today we're going to talk about the things that motivate us to keep learning English.
And that bird will harass you. It'll be like,
Right.
do 5 minutes of learning today.
And I'm like, where did you hear this? You know?
Hi guys, this is Big Go to One, and I am Alex from England.
I'm Swanee from America.
And I'm Travis from Australia.
Should we start an ASMR channel?
Hi everybody. Today we're going to talk about the things that motivate us to keep learning English. Today we're going to talk about how to motivate ourselves to continue learning English. I think for a lot of students, sometimes you find that motivation hard to come by. You hit a wall, you feel like you're not improving. We've all been there, trust me. I've been there when I've been studying Korean or French or something like that. I'm sure, Travis, you've probably been there in some way or another.
I've been saying that I'm gonna practice more Korean for a year and a half and I still haven't. So.
Right. But don't worry guys, there are loads of things that you can do to help motivate yourself. One way that I thought was a really good way to motivate yourself is, if you're learning a language, learn the language in the context of stuff you really like. If you're not interested in, for example, flowers or gardening, and you have a lesson all about flowers and gardening, you are going to be so bored, okay? When I studied Korean, one of the things that I did is I started playing video games with Korean people online. So you start picking up the lingo, you hear how they interact with each other, you pick up slang terms, you pick up vernacular and idioms and that kind of thing. And it's quite fun because you're doing things you like. Yeah, it's a little bit awkward at first because you don't really know what's going on, but after a while you start to understand it more. It becomes more fun. Another thing I did is I watched sports that I liked in the Korean language, so basketball. And it's the same thing, you start hearing like what the commentators call certain shots, how they describe fouls and that kind of thing. And it can be really fun because you're already interested in the subject, so you're going to keep watching, you're going to keep consuming. You end up just picking up more sort of authentic language that way. I would encourage you to study the language in the context of your hobbies, in the context of things you like to do.
That's good, because like that is going to involve the vocabulary that you're going to be most likely to use. And then the vocabulary that you're most likely to use is the ones that you're going to remember. And the ones that you remember and use are the ones that stick with you forever.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Another thing would be, honestly, get a bunch of friends who say, if you're learning English, then a bunch of English-speaking friends, and hang out with those people. You will hear their ways of interacting with each other, and you will pick up on that, and you will start speaking English more authentically. A lot of students, they always ask me, how do I speak authentic English? How do I improve my fluency? And lessons are good for a lot of things, but if you want to really be fluent, honestly, you've got to be in the real world, in real life situations, and just pick up on that kind of stuff and copy what you hear.
Also, fluency is a really good thing to have, but also not the most important thing, because have you heard some native speakers? Like, some of them speak in a way that even we as native speakers don't understand. Like, there are some accents and dialects out there that are really strong. So if you're struggling with it, just don't make that the thing that you focus on.
True. Mine was just using apps, so really like any kind. To start with one, like you could obviously find some kind of language app. Like I've never used it before, but I've heard a lot about like Duolingo.
Oh yeah.
And it's free, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that bird will harass you. It'll be like,
Right.
do 5 minutes of learning today.
Yeah, if you like haven't been on the app, the like bird like shows up and he's like, it's been like a month since you've studied. Like, where are
We
you
miss
at?
you, come back,
Yeah, right.
come back, we want you to learn more.
Yes, there are like legitimate language learning apps, but like sometimes that can just feel like you're studying, and like studying is not fun. I mean, some people like studying, but another way is just by like using social media. This is gonna help you more with kind of just everyday language, idioms, expressions, and slang. It's more of an informal way to learn, but for people who are focusing on just like everyday, I think social media is really good, because these days on social media they have the short videos. Like YouTube has short like videos now. There's TikTok, Instagram has their Reels section, so you can like watch people who are speaking in like a short clip that can be repeated many times. And these days a lot of them put subtitles, so you can like hear what they're saying, you can read it, you can read their caption, you know, so you can like practice a bunch of different things. I've had students come into my one-on-one classes and be like, what does this mean? And it's like some kind of slang word, and I'm like, where did you hear like, where did you get this? And they're like, I saw it on Twitter, or like I saw it on Instagram. I'm like, oh yeah, this means this. Like, it's really common.
Yeah.
You know, when you go to like a academy or like a school for language learning, they don't typically teach you those kinds of things.
Right,
They're not going to be
right.
like, here's a lesson on slang and being very informal with your friends. So in that way, I think all types of apps are really good for learning.
Yes, I agree with you. Apps are really good. I'm not a huge fan of Duolingo because I find some of their sentences, at least the Korean sentences they use, are not particularly useful. There is an app called Memrise, which I really like.
Oh, I don't
which
know that.
Memrise is really good for vocabulary, but they also have like courses on grammar and idioms. And honestly, like there's a bazillion courses for each language.
I think for mine, what I would suggest is passive learning. So don't like actively seek something out thinking, oh, I gotta learn this, I need to do this. Passive learning can be really, really beneficial, and it has to do with kind of all parts of what we've been talking about, which is immersion. If you want to learn something, the best way is to surround yourself with it. But obviously, if you're trying to do this in a more relaxed way, passive learning, it can be really helpful. So for me, I don't look at like a video on YouTube or anything and go, oh, I don't want to watch this, or it doesn't look like something I'd be interested in. If it's like in Korean, I will like let it play in the background. Even though I might not know everything that they're saying, I'm still picking up phonetics. I'm still getting familiar with how like different dialects of Korean sound. That can be really useful because obviously, just as I mentioned before, there's a lot of different Englishes out there. I also think that you can do this with like music and like TV shows and movies and stuff. Just let them play in the background while you're doing something else. You don't have to focus on it completely. You will pick up things. Things will stick out in your mind. Like my first bit of Korean, long before I ever decided to come to Korea, I picked it up from a YouTube channel from a random video that had just like autoplay, which was like a beauty influencer here in Korea.
Yeah.
And he said this line of Korean, and I just somehow remembered it for the longest time. Can I say it's kind of inappropriate?
What is it?
하지보소.
Oh. Okay.
I mean, that's not really inappropriate. You can say that to anybody, like if the situation permits, I guess.
I've never used it before in context. I just know the sentence. Personally, I just like saying it to Koreans in friend situations because I want to see their reaction, because I don't think anyone ever expects me to actually know that sentence.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's a good one though, because like if you're just listening to music, for example, for people in the States, like who are getting really into like K-pop and stuff, they just listen because like maybe they just like the music, or like they like the K-pop person, they think they're good looking or whatever.
Yeah.
But like you listen to the song because you're like, the beat is good and it sounds good, and then you're like start to hear it a lot. You start to like pick up how they pronounce the lyrics.
Yes.
Maybe you can sing along, but you don't know what it means, and then you're like, what are they saying? And then you go and you look it up. And it's like, boom, now you just learned like lyrics and you know how to pronounce them or sing them, and you also know what they mean, So it's like win-win,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
yeah.
All right, well, I think that's pretty much it from us. What do you guys think are some interesting ways of motivating yourself to learn a language more? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like,
Comment.
And subscribe.
and hit that bell so that our videos show up right in your feed. Thank you very much, everybody, and goodbye.